Hello and welcome to this Unified Communication Self-Training Class GCS level. My name is Ilyas Namran and I'm a Regional Products Engineer here at Grandstream EMEA, and I'm in charge of the Unified Communication and Collaboration Solution. And in this class, we're going to look at our Device Management System, which is also known as the GDMS. And without further ado, let's get into this class. In this class, we're going to be talking about GDMS, which stands for Grandstream Device Management System. It's a zero-touch cloud provisioning and management system that provides easy-to-use enterprise-level tools to manage Grandstream products before, during, and after deployment. It provides a centralized interface to provision, manage, monitor, and troubleshoot Grandstream products. So here is the outline for this class. First, we have an introduction to GDMS to know what GDMS is. Then we're going to talk about GDMS basic configuration. Then we're going to talk about site and task management. Also GDMS monitoring and diagnosis. And then GDMS channel management. Then we're going to talk a little bit about GDMS API. And then after that, we're going to talk about GDMS multi-factor authentication device. Let's start with an introduction to GDMS. As we have mentioned before, Grandstream Device Management System is a cloud-based provisioning platform that allows you to provision all your Grandstream devices. It offers visibility and control over deployed Grandstream devices by sites. It's easy to navigate on the GDMS portal and monitor all the Grandstream devices from one interface. It also offers device configuration with group templates and model templates, like Zero Config on the UCM, where you can choose to provision by template or by model, deploy devices automatically, and connect them to download their configuration. GDMS provides plug and play, so you can directly ship devices to customer premises without having the need to unbox them and reconfigure them. So all we need to do is to enter the MAC address and the serial number of the device to GDMS and then assign it to a configuration. It also offers real-time diagnostics, monitoring, and email notification of device events. Users can check the devices on GDMS for issues, view device information, and obtain network captures, syslog, perform ping or traceroute. Task scheduling for firmware upgrades and configuration updates. Users can configure tasks to start at that very moment or to set a schedule for the task to be executed in a specific moment. Many tasks can be executed, such as firmware upgrade, reboots, and factory reset on the devices. Multiple GDMS accounts with full or limited access based on the assigned role privileges. The admin can create other accounts with other privileges to edit users and manage a specific site, for instance. And now we're going to talk about more GDMS specifications and features that are specific for security. GDMS, as we said, is cloud-based and hosted on Amazon Web Services, and the communication between the user's computer, GDMS, and the devices is encrypted using HTTPS to ensure security to your provisioning operations. The login password is hashed with SHA-256. Also, there is no limitation of devices and SIP accounts that can be created and managed from the GDMS. The devices that can be added to GDMS for monitoring purposes are the DP750 series, the GRP2600 series, the GXP2100 series, the WP800 series, the GXV3300 series, the GVC3210, and HD devices. Authentication of devices by using the serial number with the MAC address is ensured as well. Also, no need to access each device to troubleshoot it separately or get packet traces from each one. Users can do all the troubleshooting tasks from the cloud using GDMS. Users can create many sites, subsites, and assign devices to these sites. Then the management can be done by sites if needed. We're going to look at this in detail in a later section. And now we're going to talk about the GDMS prerequisites. GDMS platform can be accessed using the link www.gdms.cloud, and first-time users need to sign up for GDMS account by simply entering some information like the name, the email address, the country, and after the registration is complete, you can just get connected and start using the GDMS. Internet connection is required since this is a cloud-based platform. TR069 feature should be enabled on the endpoints to allow the GDMS to remote manage these devices. GDMS dashboard provides an overview of the following information: total accounts, total devices, and total sites, which displays the total number of SIP accounts, the devices, and the sites configured on the GDMS. Account status, it shows the real-time status of the accounts configured. 3 statuses can be found: normal, when the account is successfully registered; abnormal, when the account is unregistered; and unallocated, when the account is not allocated to any device. Device status, it shows the real-time status for devices. There are 3 statuses that can be found: online, when the device and the GDMS network connection is normal; offline, when there is a lost connection between the device and GDMS; and we have abnormal, when there is an issue with a specific device's account. Device distribution, this section allows users to know the category of devices connected to GDMS that can be audio devices, video devices, or conference devices. Site statistics, this section gives information about the devices assigned to each created site and allocation of devices per site. Model statistics, this section displays the total number of each device model and the percentage of total devices. GDMS is also accessible through a mobile app that we provide for Android and iOS smartphones, and it allows the user to do the following: add in devices quickly by scanning their barcodes in case the user wants to add many devices; managing devices easily, for example, configuring accounts, upgrading the device's firmware, and rebooting the devices remotely; monitoring devices in real time. This allows the user to check the status of the device added to GDMS. This also includes the alert notifications generated when a device is rebooted, has gone offline for some time, or when account registration failure happens for SIP endpoints. And now we're going to look at the basic configuration that can be performed using the GDMS in more detail. There are 2 ways to add the Grandstream device to GDMS, either by adding it manually or by importing a batch of devices using a CSV file with all the needed information about the devices when you have many devices to deploy. In this last case, the GDMS will provide you with the CSV template with the information needed that you need to fill. Both methods require having 2 information to proceed adding the devices. We need the MAC address of the device and its serial number. And we have the third option, which is assign devices to subordinate channels. This is basically a method dedicated to channel distributors and service providers, and they will be able to obtain a list of purchased devices directly from the Grandstream ARP. This is something we're going to talk about in a specific section later during this class. The device's status can be checked using the status indicator next to each one of the devices from the device page on GDMS. The device can be offline when the connection between the device and GDMS is lost or not established for any reason, or it can be online when the connection between the device and GDMS is normal, as you can see from the screenshot put on the slide. The first thing to do when using GDMS is to add SIP servers. All the necessary information should be entered, such as the SIP server's IP address or URL, the primary outbound proxy's IP address, DNS mode and NAT traversal, etc. Upon adding the SIP server, it will appear in the SIP server list. Entries in the list can be edited or deleted. Users can add SIP accounts on GDMS either manually, one by one, or using the batch import. And I have put in the slide 2 screenshots from the web user interface of both methods of adding SIP accounts. The first method that we're going to talk about is manual adding. Once you finish configuring the SIP servers, users need to go under the same section, Account Management, then SIP Accounts. This section is dedicated to add SIP accounts to GDMS. So it's the same configuration when you are registering an extension from a SIP phone or a SIP conferencing system. Users will also be able to choose which device the account will be assigned to. And for the second method, which is batch import, from the same page, and instead of adding the SIP accounts manually one by one, users can import a CSV file with all the needed information about the SIP accounts. And please note that if the user creates accounts and they're not assigned to any device, they can assign the previously created account to the devices from device management. The status will be shown as abnormal in the beginning since the GDMS needs to push the configuration. Then it will be turned into normal status when it's registered. From the GDMS, users can configure all the parameters and push it to the devices from the GDMS interface. Almost all the configurations that can be found directly from the device's web interface can also be found and set from the GDMS, because its interface provides users with the same web interface of the Grandstream phones. In case when there are not some settings on the GDMS device configuration interface, they can still be configured using p-values or aliases, because in addition to the configuration pages like the web interface of the device, users can also switch to text editor to configure the device settings via text editing, either p-values or aliases, depending on the device. Both types of interfaces are displayed on the figures in the slide. Device configuration page allows users to create templates that can be used to provision devices of the same model. Additionally, users can upload configuration files for individual devices and manage them individually. When a device is added to the GDMS for the first time, it will automatically obtain and use the configuration template for its model. Users can customize and update the configuration template by group by pushing the configuration template to the group members on the GDMS platform. The user can view the configuration of the device template group and the devices listed in each group. The user can also modify the configuration parameters, push the configuration to the devices once the configuration is done, edit the group and members, and download the configuration template by group. Also, users can import configuration files for specific devices. Settings in these uploaded files will be used for devices that have been specified previously. You need to note that the uploaded file must be named as the device's MAC address, and only XML file format is supported for the uploaded custom configuration file. If the file name does not meet the MAC address format requirements, the import will fail. And for your information, when uploading another configuration file for an existing device, the previous configuration file will be overwritten. And now we're going to talk more about site and task management. Users can add sites and subsites from the site management section of the GDMS interface. This helps the user organize their devices by sites and categorize them, which will make it easier to manage and locate. Users can also move a device from a site to another site or subsite by using the button Move. And the same as accounts and devices, you can also batch import sites in case there are many sites to configure on your GDMS, and you can download the sites template to do so. Please note that the limit of subsites that can be created is 7 subsites. The GDMS allows users to manage some tasks to be done on the devices, such as configuration update to push the configuration changes to all or specific devices, or by group and template. To upgrade the firmware for all the specific devices concurrently or in order, to select the devices and reboot them, or to perform a factory reset on the selected devices. GDMS also allows to perform these operations immediately or by setting a schedule to perform them in a specific time of the day. Users can also select the devices they want to perform the task on, or you can enter the MAC address of the devices, and you can choose, for instance, a whole site or subsite to perform these tasks for the devices included in it. And now we're going to move on to GDMS monitoring and diagnosis. Alongside the several configuration panels that the GDMS offers, it also offers separate overview dashboards for each organization. This makes monitoring and getting information about status of devices assigned SIP accounts for a particular organization a lot easier. From the device management page, an administrator can also monitor the registration status of the account and monitor the call status of each account. For troubleshooting, GDMS Diagnostics section allows users to check devices for issues or to follow the steps provided by Grandstream support team to resolve an encountered issue with a specific device. You can obtain network captures and syslog and conduct ping and trace routes only using GDMS and without having to access the phone's user interface. Users can configure to have notification alerts on the GDMS interface and to choose the type of events that will generate a notification. Alerts are divided to 3 levels: the high-level alerts that generally include the failure of account registration. There is the medium-level alert, which include notification about factory reset performing, a task failure, or when a device is offline. And there is a low-level alert that will notify you when a device reboots. You should also know that it's possible to send notification emails to the account user, And you can choose which type of alerts you want to be notified about. You can also send these alerts through SMS, but for now, it's only available for North America region. Channel management is helpful to assign devices to subordinate channels. It's available on the GDMS, especially for channel distributors and service providers. They can obtain a list of purchased devices from Grandstream ERP and sync it automatically. This list will allow the channel customer or the service provider to quickly assign devices to sub-channel customers when they purchase the devices, and manage devices directly for customers. Now we're going to talk about the GDMS API. GDMS platform opens API for public users. Users can apply for API developer to use the services. It is used basically for managing devices on GDMS, managing SIP accounts, configuring accounts for devices, configuring parameters, query devices status, etc. through the API interface. Additionally, users can also synchronize a PBX system, UCM or third-party PBX, to sync the SIP accounts with GDMS and get their real-time status. To know how to apply for the GDMS API developer and for more information about the GDMS API, please visit documentation.grandstream.com. Users should enable API developer mode and get the API ID and secret key that will be used for authentication from the UCM side. On the UCM side, users can go to GDMS settings and enter the credentials of the GDMS account, as well as the API ID and secret key, then click on Authenticate. If successful, users will now be able to select an organization on the GDMS to sync all UCM SIP accounts to. After selecting, saving, and applying changes, the UCM will then start the syncing process. Once the initial sync is complete, you will now be able to see the UCM and its extensions on GDMS, which will have an orange label with the word UCM. Any future creation, deletion, or modification of SIP accounts will automatically be synced to GDMS. And next, we're going to talk about GDMS multi-factor authentication device. GDMS multi-factor authentication is the simple and the best way to add a layer of protection to the admin's account. When multi-factor authentication is enabled, the user will be required to enter the login username and password, which is the first factor, and then an authentication code, which is the second factor from the multi-factor authentication device when they log in to the GDMS platform. This multi-factor authentication method will keep your account secure and safe from any unauthorized access. The authentication code can be generated using one of these two methods, either using a virtual multi-factor authentication device, which is basically an application that runs and simulates the physical device on mobile phones and other devices. Virtual multi-factor authentication device will generate a 6-digit code based on a one-time time-synchronized cryptographic algorithm. So when the admin log into the GDMS platform, the admin must type in the valid code from the specific device. Or you can use a physical multi-factor authentication device that can work with the GDMS by generating a 6-digit code as well as on one-time time-synchronized cryptographic algorithm. Users can use any device supporting TOTP, time-based one-time password, and we recommend using OTP dongles made by Microcosm Limited for the highest level of security.